I would argue that that's liberating, to
Yes.
be as independent as you are, and being able to call your own shots. And sure, that does come with its set of the buck stops with you. You're going to get in what you put out. You're not always going to make the correct decision, and that still to me is liberating. It's worth it. So even through success or failure, it is worth it to try to give it a shot under those conditions in comparison to these guys that are definitely doing like more of the kind of alternative genres. Those guys, I'm just being completely honest, are fucking broke. Like, I'm just being honest with you. Those guys,
Yeah.
a lot of them don't have any sort of money for the most part. They're having to tour basically 24/7 because of that. That's the only time they can make money, because they're not making money on a record at all.
Yeah.
And it's rough. You know, I've been there. I've toured with these guys, with my band, and it was crazy. I think I don't want to call it a culture shock. It was more of, for sure, validation with what it is that I was doing. I remember doing back when we released Veracity, so that was the 2017, 2018-ish. And you know, we were touring with some bands obviously that were way bigger than we were. And you know, they were getting around town or getting around the entire country in these just really screwed up vans. And they were asking us, and we were the new kids on the block, and they were asking us about finances and asking us about how we were in the position that we were in. And like I said, it was more like, oh, wait a minute, you guys mean to tell me you're getting millions of views on your like music videos, and that's the best that you could come up with as far as, you know, you guys aren't eating well. You guys, I knew so many people, they would go on tour, and in between tour, they're having to work at Firehouse or something of that nature, because that's the way that they have to make money, because they're not really able to live off of the music it is that they're producing, despite millions of views, or streams now. Back then, more so, you know, streaming was just kind of really launching off as far as like the Spotify's and stuff of the world. But it's just crazy, and those are not under any conditions that I would want to live in. But I got a lot of pushback, because we didn't. I don't know if that was your experience as well, but I remember getting a lot of pushback with our band because we weren't doing things the traditional way. Everybody else had their way of doing it. There was the industry standard of how, you know, yes, you got to jump into this deal. It's the only way that you're going to get favoritism towards these tours. It's the only way that you're going to be able to get in front of everybody. And I love that you mentioned that the archaic model, that basically this is what it was. You hit a ceiling. Everybody did back in the gap. But now with social media, like, that ceiling is blown off. Like, there is no ceiling anymore. So I don't have to go to someone else to distribute my music. I don't have to go there to take it to the next level. You're living proof of that. And being independent and being in these sort of alternative genres, have you had a similar experience where it's like almost like people are either trying to talk you off the edge, or they're trying to talk you into making a bad decision because, well, that's just what everybody else does?
Yeah, it's like your legitimacy gets
Ooh,
questioned.
yes,
And
absolutely.
yeah, it's like you might be doing more money than them. You might be reaching more people than them. But he's not a real guy. He's
Yep.
not a real artist, because it's like there's this subjective standard for legitimacy that it just doesn't make sense. It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm making more money than you. I'm entertaining. My art is reaching more people than you. But you're a real musician, and I'm not, because you do things in X way and I do in like Y and Z way. It's like, well, it doesn't make sense. It's kind of irrational, and it's really like it it's I kind of understand and sympathize, because you've been doing something like in a certain way for
Yeah.
decades,
Yeah.
and then comes this young boy from a third world shithole, and just suddenly in 3 years he has a bigger career than you. And it's like it feels bad. At the other side, there are some traditional artists in my that approached me during my journey, and they were very humble. They were like, "Yeah, man, congratulations!" Like they were asking me for advice, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, with your experience too. But it's like there's definitely also that that side of the aisle just looking at you in a way that that guy's not legitimate. And it's really what it is just good old success shaming.
Yeah.
It is what it is, envy. And how can this guy achieve more with less effort? It's not because it's not because he's doing something that I should be doing. No, it's because he sucks and I don't. It's unfair. It's like it's a
That's
self-defeating philosophy. So much, so self-defeating.
it is, man. And yeah, it's just not a way to to live, man. And yeah, I try to empathize as well. You know, to your point, these people have been doing things away for a very long time. And then you
Yeah.
get a new kid on the block that is using the technology and the advancements that we've had, and really you've lapped someone, or and they feel some kind of way. We dealt with that with that in music. I remember even in my old band, we dealt with it in backwards, but even with my old band, that was you know, taking off when it was. And you'd had these people that were like, well, you're not doing it. Hell, that was actually the reason why I ended up leaving it, because the guys, some of them, it was split more or less, wanted to try to do things the traditional route. And I was forward thinking. This was like 2012, 2013. And I was like, guys, this doesn't make sense. Like doing it this way does not make sense. Selling off our assets like this doesn't make sense. We're not going to get a return. Going to tour right now before really establishing our base makes no sense whatsoever at all.
You mentioned the expression selling our assets. What people at home that maybe don't understand the music industry need to understand: when you sign with a record label, you're selling your masters
Yes.
to the record label,
And sometimes publishing too.
It's not licensing. It's not licensing. You're selling away. So the masters, for the people who don't know, a master is the physical, not necessarily physical, but it's the tangible manifestation of your work, of your music. So like if you put your music into an MP3 file, that is a master. Talking like contract, business lawyer talk.
Yeah.
So you're selling that. In order for you to sell that yourself and own those masters yourself, you need to either remix that and pay another producer to do another remixing, something that sounds different, and you master it again. Now that master belongs to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, just so people at home understand the stakes that we're talking about, we're selling off a work.
Yes.
It doesn't belong to us anymore.
It's someone
That's
else.
what happens when you sign with the label.
And to even give more kind of education to folks on this, like these standard deals are working like this. So to Dan's point, you're selling off everything. Yeah, they may give you an advance to try to cover you recording it. And in some of the worst deals, which were standard, definitely when I was coming up in the metalcore scene, it's crazy. They're going to give you the money for the advance, and they're also determining who the producer is, right? For you. So basically it's like funneling money to this producer. So even if the number is X amount, it doesn't matter. You don't really have control over any of that, because it's all going to saying, hey, we'll give you this much to produce the record, right? But in the same respects, you got to go to this guy to produce the record, and this is basically what we're going to be paying them. So all that money is gone. But between that, marketing, everything else, it's a lot of people get it twisted. So let's say it is 12% or whatever it is that you're having to get from the record. It is not 12% from every sale. What happens is that 12% has to make the money back first.
Exactly.
It has to make the money back first. So if you sell something for $1, you're not getting 12 cents for every, let's say, single or whatever. That 12 cents has to go to whatever it is that the company spent, and they're going to tack on as many fees as they can, which is why most people, touring artists especially, don't ever see a dime from what they make from the record, because they have to accumulate so many fees. So really, you're not making money off the music it is that you're producing, unless maybe you're having to go tour. But even then, I can speak from experience. There's other people that got the booking agent. Like if there's a booking agent, so he's got to get his 5%. If you're going to some shitty venue, which often people were, these fools are trying to get merch, a percentage of the merch sales from the venue, right? So
you're literally the last person to see the money.
Yes, that's a fact.
You're the last motherfucker to see the money. It goes through so many people.
Yes.
That money just put it in simple terms, that money is a loan. It's a loan.
Yes, big loan.
That advance that the label pays you to sign that contract, it's not really your money.
No, it is it is 1,000, and you put it perfectly, which is why it never made sense to me, in that you are the last person to touch the money. Yeah, you're the one that's doing all the work. It can be your ideas. You recorded it. You wrote the music, all of that stuff, and you're the last person to get paid from that. And I remember coming up in the 2010s, man, and being forward thinking on this, and I was like, guys, this shit doesn't make sense. None of this. I get it. The biggest artists are doing it. Everybody that's on various tours that are getting around town, they're all doing it, but none of it makes sense. And this is why they aren't getting paid. And man, it was a shock to be on tour. Maybe not quite the shock. Maybe that's not the proper term, but it for sure made me feel some kind of way in seeing how broke, number one, these guys were, despite having millions of views on their various music videos.
I would be able to bet a bunch of them have day jobs too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They have to. They can't eat because they're not eating off the record. So they have to. And again, that sucks. And I what you're doing and what other people have figured this thing out in really various industries, man, are figuring out that there is another way to do it, and you don't have to sell everything off. It doesn't have to be, in Hassan's term, soul sucking to do what it is that you're doing. Thanks for watching. Be sure to head over to Rippaverse.com to check out our comic book company. We have books, plenty of merchandise, and even some glorious animations from Rippaverse Studios. Next up, possibly our most anticipated book thus far, Yaira.